Hey there everyone, this is Michael Dougal, the nootropic reviewer, and in this video today you're going to learn how I combat the negative side effects from ashwagandha use. I've been using it now for about 7 years, and the reason I used ashwagandha really was to increase my income, thinking it can give me some sort of edge to further my productivity. However, there's definitely better ones out there because of the negative side effects of ashwagandha, most commonly being demotivation. Yes, it actually does happen. Let's face it, ashwagandha is one of the best nootropic supplements that you can take for anxiety. So it works like you start to take ashwagandha. Most people don't really notice anything right away, but after about a week's of using it a couple of times per day, people do notice that they generally just seem to carry less stress as they go about their day. They feel a bit calmer, but is it really worth it if it's costing you productivity and that it's decreasing your work ethic? Because this actually happens. The way that I got into ashwagandha was prior to using it, I was using a lot of nootropics that helped me boost my focus, boost my motivation, really increase my dopamine levels, and then I needed something to help calm me down a little bit, relax me, help to fight off some stress, finish the day with a little bit more fulfillment, and ashwagandha definitely did serve that purpose. However, a few months later, I noticed that my sales were down, my income was kind of trending downward, and so it all starts with just the general awareness. You'll find that maybe 60% of people seem to experience this phenomena of decreased motivation, and the other 40%, they seem to do a little bit better. And there could be different reasons for that, like the mechanism of action in which ashwagandha works in a way in which it doesn't improve your mood, but also it does slightly improve testosterone levels. That's been proven. So more testosterone generally means a better work ethic. So it's a little bit confusing, ashwagandha. You definitely do have to try it, but for most people anyway, they definitely want to start off by understanding the different types of ashwagandha. We have the root, and then we have the extracts, which are becoming a lot more popular because you don't need to take as much ashwagandha to receive the intended benefit. And the several extracts are KSM-66, Sensoril, and Shodan. Now, I really don't think there's any reason to take the ashwagandha root. Studies have not shown there's any benefit over taking the extract yet. I do understand that some people just want to keep things holistic, natural, and that's the reason why they take the root over the extract. But when you're looking at the extract, something to look out for is the percentage of withanalyzed. And it's safe to say that the higher the withanalyzed content, the more it's going to tire you out. Take Shodan, for example, which is the highest percentage of withanalyzed. People often use that before bed. In fact, this study over here shows that by taking a small dose of about 120 milligrams, you will get better sleep. You'll have far less instances of waking up in the middle of the night. You'll wake up restored, rejuvenated. But then you look at the different extract called KSM-66, that's a lower percentage of withanalyzed, and that is actually my favorite extract. I would really recommend that you try that one out. I ingest 300 to 500 milligrams of KSM-66. I feel it straight away. However, if you've already tried the different forms of ashwagandha and you've just kind of given up on it because it's so demotivating, then I'm going to give you another solution, and that would be to add another nootropic or several nootropics on top of your ashwagandha use. And one of them, which is very popular, is of course ashwagandha and caffeine. See, caffeine is of course going to help us keep focus. It's going to motivate us. Just what I don't like about this stack too much is the fact that with caffeine, it's very short lasting. We often feel an energy crash. And so rather than taking caffeine, a great alternative is to take one of the nootropics that's going to boost your focus, increase your dopamine levels, pretty much anything that can help you be motivated. And one of my favorites for doing just this is L-tyrosine, which is an amino acid that you'll typically find in capsules of 500 milligrams to 750 milligrams, and you can ingest it. You'll feel very focused, you'll feel determined. It's interesting because with L-tyrosine, it slightly brings up your anxiety, but not to the point in which it's counterproductive. So you have ashwagandha decreasing your anxiety, L-tyrosine slightly increasing your anxiety. However, it's worth it because you're going to be really focused. In fact, it's one of the best nootropics for higher energy levels without being a stimulant that's going to keep you up at night. So a great practical use of using L-tyrosine is, let's say it's later in the day, I don't want to ingest caffeine, but I do want some focus, I want some energy. That's when L-tyrosine is really, really strong. And so using this alongside with your ashwagandha can be really good. And another great alternative is to use ashwagandha along with one of the racetams. So let's say you have piracetam, aniracetam, oxiracetam, or pramiracetam, and what they all do, it's very subtle, is that they do improve thinking, they improve motivation, they slightly improve energy levels, and just generally you feel more of a desire to do work and forget some of the lesser important tasks that you need to do. The only problem with taking the racetams, and especially this is the case with Noopept, is that you'll be so tunnel visioned in that you'll forget about the important things like your relationships with people. Maybe you'll actually lose interest in some of your hobbies like sports, but when it comes to results, I'm really grateful that I came across the racetams and I came across Noopept. Noopept is very similar to the racetams. It's been said that Noopept is over 100 times more potent than paracetam, but I'm warning you, these are very subtle. You may not notice much. Now, what you also want to do is consider avoiding other nootropic supplements that may be demotivating you. So a couple of those include Bacopa mineri, which a lot of people use for memory, and lion's mane mushroom, which many people use for a better mood and slightly clearer thinking, more curiosity. You generally just feel kind of sharper, and you'll find yourself like slightly more inquisitive when you're using lion's mane. So this is the problem, is if you're only taking adaptogens or herbal nootropics, anything which is going to relieve stress, that's when you can be really demotivated. So I would strongly recommend that you kind of balance it out with some of the nootropics which are going to help you to be more focused. And something really important is the actual timing of ashwagandha. So here's the thing, ashwagandha has a fairly long half-life, and so because of that, the ideal way in which you would want to use ashwagandha to get the intended benefit would be to be really spacing up your doses, like something like 8 a.m. and then again at 8 p.m., which for a lot of people is not practical. They would rather take it once a day, or they would maybe like space it apart by 6 hours. So you'll find what works for you. But for me, because I'm very sensitive to nootropics and ashwagandha, I specifically avoid using ashwagandha first thing in the morning. I don't want to take anything that could slow me down, demotivate me, relax me. So for that reason, I'm pretty much like weighing it mostly towards the evening. So what I'll do is, because I work pretty long work days, somewhere around 6 o'clock p.m., that's when I'm using my first serving of ashwagandha. Pretty late, but that's what works for me. So I'm usually using about 500 milligrams of KSM 66 because it's that point where I'm a little bit fatigued, my mood is kind of down, I face a lot of rejection. And then what I do is, closer to sleep, I actually take the other form of ashwagandha that I mentioned earlier called Shodan, which is really, really helping my sleep quality. I've talked about some of my favorite nootropics for sleep in this video over here. For me, I've determined that I really don't need ashwagandha in my nootropic stack, but I use it anyway because it's fairly inexpensive, and I thought I knew everything about ashwagandha 5 years in. Turns out that there was definitely more to learn. The other major side effect is that it does increase thyroid function. So if you're on thyroid meds, for example, I would recommend that you would not take ashwagandha without consulting with your general practitioner, because I personally have an underactive thyroid, also known as hypothyroidism, and so for that reason, I'm using my ashwagandha alongside with Cytomel. I'm taking about 50 micrograms of that. However, if you're just starting with thyroid meds, definitely do not take ashwagandha, because ashwagandha will mess everything up. Thyroid is super complex. You've got your T3, you've got your T4, you've got your TSH, you've got to monitor. It's one of the hardest things out there to kind of get regulated. So for those individuals, I would recommend you stay away from ashwagandha for now anyway, and then you can perhaps add it in later, being mindful of the fact that most likely it's not going to decrease your thyroid, it's going to increase your thyroid function, which can cause some negative side effects like loss of sleep, higher energy levels, loss of appetite, and have a very fast heart rate, which is something you don't want. And then ashwagandha, like every other nootropic supplement, you're going to hear about some negative experience. I wouldn't really put too much thought into that or too much concern. It's not like with ashwagandha, a negative side effect is losing your hair, which is a positive, because there's some nootropic supplements which have that negative side effect, which I can understand why it would turn people off. But what's your experience with using ashwagandha as a nootropic supplement? Are you thumbs up or are you thumbs down? Let me know in the comments section below. And if you're new to the channel, of course, consider subscribing. I really appreciate your support. So drop a comment, give a thumbs up. If you'd like to chat with me one-on-one, you can do so over on Patreon, or you can send me a direct message on Instagram. And be sure to visit our Discord server, which has a 24/7 chat room. We're answering questions in a time-sensitive fashion, building this community and having a lot of fun. I thank you for your interest in nootropics, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next time.